you're always, it's the woman knows who the kids' doctors are. We're always thinking we know what size shoes everybody wears. We can look in their eyes and tell when they're getting sick. We are always thinking about all the things. So if you have to do, it's not 50-50. It's never going to be 50-50.
And
Even if you both go to work.
and that's why, right? Even if you both go to work, that's why I said this is ridiculous, because it's like nobody's saying, okay, I'm going to take these. We got 4 kids. I'm going to take these 2 kids and only realize and understand them. You take the other 2 so that we split it down 50-50. And then I'm going to, like, nobody's doing that. That's not how
No.
a marriage is working. The last thing I want to say is this. I want to let Chris talk. Here's what I want to say. I know I get a lot of trolls and a lot of women that hate what I'm doing, but guess what? I get a lot of love from women too. 95% of my supporters are women, and most of them are Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that, and I want to throw this out. The reason why is because they understand I'm trying to help the community by
Yes.
talking to women and having conversations with them about vetting properly, what they should be
Yes.
looking for in a man. I've had these live streams. How to, and they've asked me, can you talk to us about this? And I've done that. And that's what's important to know for the community. All this other foolishness and this and that, you guys thinking I'm a misogynist, that's not what this is about. This is about getting our community back to having the right understanding of what life, relationships, and marriages should be. Not this backwards thinking we have. The
Mm-hmm.
right way it should be is for a man to be masculine and a woman to be feminine. Not for a woman to be masculine and I'm 50-50 masculine and feminine. No, no.
No.
And my man is 50-50. And I brought this point up with the doctor earlier. I said, you don't tell your husband we share in nurturing our child 50-50. So after I finish breastfeeding, I'm going to hand the baby over to you so you can breastfeed. She doesn't do that. A woman can't do, because a man can't breastfeed.
Right. And a woman is naturally more attached and more of a nurturer, because we carried that child in our with us for almost a year. The babies want to be with us. You know,
Yes.
the baby,
Yes.
my kids will walk past my husband and come ask me for things.
Mommy, mommy, mommy.
Yes,
Yeah.
they want me when they're sick. They want me when they're sad. They want
There's a
me when they're
reason.
upset.
There's a reason for that. When the children are emotional, when they're sick, sad, stuff like you said, they
Hmm.
want mommy, because
Yeah.
the natural role is for mom to be the nurturer,
Right. And it really is.
not
And
to
I'm not
be the
saying,
provider and protector.
yes. And I'm not saying, and so just so people don't get it twisted, that doesn't mean that husbands are hands off. They don't change diapers. They don't get up in the middle of the night. They don't help.
No,
That's
but
not
we're
what we
talking
mean at
about the
all.
natural understanding of
Yes.
children. They
Yeah.
naturally want to come to mommy for help. And even if you, I've noticed this, even if there's two parent or two different homes and there's a custody agreement, when the child still feels emotional, they'll cry and say, I just want mommy.
Yeah. Or God forbid, if the child had to choose who they wanted to live with, they're going most of the time, unless they're coming from some sort of weird situation, they're going to want to be with their mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want that nurturing, loving,
Hmm.
gentle spirit of the mom.
Hmm.
Go ahead,
Yep.
Chris.
I
I want to
agree.
hear from Chris.
Okay, is my mic on? Can you hear me?
Your mic is on, but your camera. There you go. There you go. Okay.
Okay. So, what topic are we moving on to now? Are we still
The
talking about
topic is
submission or
still
masculine and feminine?
no, the topic is still is a woman's role today to provide
Hmm.
and protect for her man and family.
Absolutely not. And I say that because the only time a woman I feel should be that person is in dire need or in emergency. I feel like a woman should step up when needed because you just don't know what can happen, right? I'm a nurse. I see things all day, every day, right? I see some of the most horrible things happen to people. A husband can lose his leg, a husband can lose his arm. And then at that point, that's when it's the woman's job or the partner to, well, let me not say partner because I know how we all feel about that word, it is up for the woman to then pick up the slack.
Mm,
And if that happens, that's when I feel like a woman should then show some sort of masculinity because she then has to make up for her husband or her boyfriend or her man, whoever.
mm,
That's when I feel like it's appropriate. But everyday life, no, men have roles, women have roles. Um, and I feel like a problem today, especially with the Black community, um, a lot of us have seen, certain things in our household as far as our mothers and them being submissive and where that landed them. So I feel like just unconsciously as Black women, we tend to try to make up for generational curses and try to not end up like them.
mm. You know what? Let me address this. You brought up an interesting dynamic. I personally know of a family where the mother has, I think, 4 or 5 daughters.
Mm-hmm,
She has always been a housewife. She's never worked.
mm-hmm,
She teaches and has taught her daughters to be a strong, independent woman and to not
mm-hmm,
never rely on a man.
mm-hmm.
She's still married and she's still a housewife to this day. Probably
That's
been
my mom.
over 20 years. Even though
Mm-hmm.
she's married and a housewife, she's telling her daughters, don't do that. Why
Yeah.
is that?
I think because some women are scared of the outcome. A lot of women and a lot of men and women both stay in relationships just for their children. So let's start there.
Mm,
Um, and they didn't really have a good foundation to begin with. There was a lot of sacrifices that were made just so their children could be where they are now.
mm. So you think they're
So
staying there for more just for the children and they're not really into the relationship or marriage?
I feel like sometimes that does happen. I personally know a couple like that, and she's better off staying with them than her going out and being alone.
Mm,
She has 3 children, so yeah. I mean, people do it. People back in the day do it. I mean, there was the saying, "Poppin' was a Rolling Stone," so we know that didn't come from anything good. Um, so yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead, Emmy, if you have something to say. If you ladies have something to say, chime in. I want to hear from I want to have like a discussion now. Just Emmy, you got to turn on your mic and your camera. There's your camera. I
What
guess
I was
she
going to
has.
say while Emmy's
Go
getting
ahead.
it together is
Yeah.
that woman who is married but telling her daughter to always to be independent. She's probably just not happy in her marriage and sad that she does never had a way out of it or wasn't strong for to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And can you hear me now?
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, in my opinion, we as human beings are creatures of habit, and we tend to go from one relationship, and we mold ourselves to become complacent to the lifestyle. So, as you say, she basically, well, I'm better off in this situation because it serves her purpose.
Mm,
So she feel like I'm better off here than if I were to go out on my own and experience more hardship.
I
So
get that too. Yeah,
yeah, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
because
ahead.
wouldn't you rather be by yourself than be bothered with some man who doesn't treat you who doesn't make you happy and you're having to do all the things
Exactly.
anyway and he doesn't fulfill your needs. I'd rather be by myself than be with a man whom I just sort of like or I'm just putting up with.
mm,
Or you would becoming single with 3 children, and then you face the outcome of the world and extra struggle. So
mm,
therefore, a lot of women tend to, okay, I'd rather stay here and deal with what I know than be scared.
Yes, change is
and
always scary.
change.
And let me
Exactly.
back
You
up
feel
too.
the
Like
change.
I think being an independent woman, like I said this yesterday, I was a single
Mm-hmm.
mom for 4 years before I met my husband. He's not my oldest son's biological father, but he is very much his dad. And then we have two younger ones. So I was hyper independent. Like I said before,
Mm-hmm.
I never would have thought that I would have this conversation and this on this side and be of this opinion, this side of the argument, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. But I do think it is important for a woman and for a man as well to, as a young adult, to become, to live on their own and be independent and figure out who they are and know that they can take care of themselves before they do
Mm-hmm.
enter into a relationship. So there's nothing wrong with being an independent woman, but this hyper independence, saying that you don't need a man. Yeah, we don't need a man. I don't need a man, but I want a man because my man
Mm.
makes my life significantly easier and more
And
enjoyable.
I'm gonna say this about that. Us men, we want to feel like you need us.
Yes.
Amen.
We as men don't want to feel like you just want us and don't really need us. We want to feel like you need us.
Yep.
It's a
And
big
that's
difference.
another thing too. You really have to understand a man